like cell phones. You know, when you get a brand new cell phone, it comes pre-bundled with a lot of cool things. It comes pre-bundled with an email program, and it's got a phone, and it's got a camera, and it probably has spell check that's running there in the background. And it's got all of these neat pre-bundled programs. Incidentally, humans come pre-bundled with a different set of programs than, say, cows or horses. Because cows and horses come pre-bundled with the ability to walk. They come popping out of that birth canal and they're standing up on their wobbly little feet and walking. We humans don't come pre-bundled with that. We have to learn that, which is kind of a cool thing because each of us get to invent balance on our own. And when we invent balance, because we hold on to something for a while and we step away from it and we finally get balance, boy, that comes in real handy later when we learn to ride a bike, right? Or when we do other things, the balance comes in handy. So we come pre-bundled with a bunch of cool tools. We come pre-bundled with the ability to learn new things, to expand what we already have. And along the way in life, we download apps. Just like when you have a cell phone. If you want a game program, you download that game program. Dennis, let me ask you, have you downloaded any apps since you bought your cell phone?
More than I need.
Oh, more than you need. And so those that you don't need, what did you do with those? Did you delete them?
I've begun deleting them, especially where I have duplicates, almost. Yeah.
Okay. And you said you have begun deleting them. Does that mean that sometimes you have duplicates on there and they've just stayed on there for a while?
They sure have. Yep.
Yeah. And you know what happens with that? I didn't realize this until I went in to buy a new cell phone one day. And I asked the nice young woman at the Genius Bar to transfer all of my information. And she was happy to do that. And she opened my cell phone and she said, "How many apps do you have on here?" She said, "You know, you can put them in folders." And I said, "Yeah, okay." And she said, "Do you use all these?" And I said, "No." And she said, do you know that they continue to run in the background and they use up battery life and they're ready to jump in at all times and take over a program?" And I went, wow, didn't know that. Probably won't correct my cell phone, but it did birth a brand new metaphor for how hypnosis works. Because when we download those behavior apps along the way in life, we come pre-bundled just fine, but something happens and we download a behavior app. And that behavior app runs until we either upgrade it, delete it, or change it, reprogram it, right? How many times have you had somebody in your office who is still working on something that was told to them years ago? I had a client who was hired into a new position and she had to do things. She had to make charts and do things and point things out and draw things. And she was terrified of doing that. She was a great speaker and she was a great leader, but she was terrified of drawing on a whiteboard or drawing on a flip chart. And as we regressed back, we found out that in a very early memory, she happened to have been in kindergarten, and she worked all day on a great picture. And she took it home to show her mom. She was so excited, and she showed her, and mom took it and said, "Wow, you'll never be an artist," and threw it on the table. She took in that terrible suggestion. And all of these years later, more than 30 years later, that post-hypnotic suggestion was still affecting her. Because at that moment in her life, at 5 or 6, she downloaded a behavior app to protect herself, to take care of herself. She downloaded the behavior app. "I'm never drawing again. I'm out." And as we neutralized that work, what we discovered, okay, that allowed her to change the app, what we discovered was her mom was busy that day. There were 3 other kids in the house. They were all home from school. They were hungry. She was trying to cook dinner, and her daughter walked in so proud, and she just, without thinking, as it turns out, the woman remembered later that her mother actually hung that on the refrigerator, but it was too late. The app had already been downloaded, and the app was there jumping out, ready to take hold at any time it was needed. So that's my cell phone analogy, where we're downloading apps. Now, here's the thing. When she was 5 or 6, in her infinite wisdom of a 5 or 6-year-old to protect herself, she downloaded the app, I'm never drawing in public again. That didn't really serve her so well when she was 14 or 19, or now in her 30s, nearly 40. And yet it was still running in the background because she didn't know that she had downloaded an app all that time ago. And she was still operating off of the wisdom in that app of a 5 or 6-year-old. As we examine that, and she grew herself up with a different perception that I'm not a bad artist. My mother was just harried. My mother was just busy that day. That app was allowed to be deleted. She no longer needed it. And so we deleted that app. Now, let me tell you something. When I talk to anybody under, say, 35, when I have a client anywhere under 35, that analogy works really well for them because they understand deleting apps, they understand reprogramming things. It works really well.